Hey, what's up? It's Jake from Nimbus DevOps, and I'm going to show you how to build an automated CI kind of, not really CD, but CI pipeline with Jenkins. And this is the first time I've done anything with Jenkins on this YouTube channel. So as you can see here, I have this really cool pipeline that just clones a repo, builds a Docker image, tests the image, and then pushes it to DockerHub. So pretty simple example, but the simple examples are great because all the complicated stuff is really just a simple example with extra flair. You can see I'm pushing this up to uh, my DockerHub little repository here. So let's go ahead and get started and I'll show you how I did this. So I'm going to close all this and we're going to open up VS Code. And in here, I have created a repo called node, and I have these 5 files. One of them is a README, and then I have a Docker file, which just says, hey, build this from node, do a little health check, and then expose a port. And I have a Jenkins file, which just says define an app, and then I'm going to do a checkout SCM for the clone. I'm going to build the image using my hello node repo, and then I'm going to test the image, and I'm not going to do anything crazy, so I'm just going to say, hey, your test passed, but this is to simulate an image, right? And then we're going to push this image to DockerHub using a DockerHub credential. So let's go ahead and get started. Um, let's get started with the app. So all I did was I took some code that's just a simple JavaScript file that creates a server and just says hello from nimbusdevops.com and listens on port 8000. And then it has a package that has all the things inside of it that you would expect with my repo and et cetera, et cetera. So very simple, very easy. I will put a link to my GitHub repo for you to try this, and I'll show you how we do this. So to get started, we need to build a container. So if I do docker ps, you can see I have some stuff running. So I'm just going to docker container stop this guy, and then we'll go ahead and prune, docker container prune, get rid of everything I have. We'll do docker images, and you can see I have all this stuff here. So we'll do docker RMI, and then I have this image ID associated with all this stuff. So we're just going to grab some of this stuff and we'll delete it up. Let's see, which other ones can we delete? Do Docker RMI. Let's do Jenkins, and we'll do this guy, and we'll do this guy, and this guy, and this guy, and we'll try to do this guy. Last one might not work. Yeah. Docker images. We'll have to go by the repo name. Okay, so I have this hello node. So I'll run a Docker RMI on this guy. And we got that one. And then all I should have left is my registry. So we just do a Docker RMI on this guy, and we're going to tag this with 2, and then we're going to tag this one with latest, and then I should have everything gone, so you know I'm not cheating. Okay, cool. So all I need to do is get the LTS for Jenkins. So I'm going to say docker run port 8080 to 8080 and -v, and I'm going to say, oh, you know, I had to do this. There's an issue with a socket, so you actually have to do this in like an Ubuntu terminal. So I'm going to do this in Ubuntu, and I'm going to say the same thing. So docker run port 8080 to 8080 -v, and we're going to say var run docker.sock is going to be on var run docker.sock, and then we're going to name this Jenkins, and we're going to use Jenkins/Jenkins, and then we'll use the LTS version. And it's going to be like, I don't have that image, and pull it down, and then get our container set up. So the socket is important. It's not going to work unless you do that, and we also have to change some file permissions inside the Docker container, which we'll do that when the time comes. but I will go ahead and pause this video while it's waiting to finish that. Okay, so now I've got my little password here that it's going to give me. I'm going to copy this and I'm going to go open up localhost on port 8080 and it's going to prompt me with this, and I'm going to put in my little password that I copied, and then no thanks. I'm going to install the suggested plugins. The suggested plugins do not include Docker, so we're going to have to go install those as well, but we'll get to that here in just a minute. So once we've used the administrator password to log in, where you could skip the login and log in as an admin user, which is exactly what I'm going to do just because this is faster, and I'm going to destroy this and it doesn't matter. But if you're going to do this long term, you want to create a user if this is something that you want to manage going forward. So as soon as this is done, we'll go ahead and install these Docker plugins. So I'm going to go ahead and pause this video again one more time. Okay, it's done. So this is the part where I'm going to skip and continue as admin, and I'm going to leave this as default, save and finish, start using Jenkins. So now I'm going to manage Jenkins. I'm going to go to manage plugins, available, search for the word Docker, and then I'm going to check Docker, Docker Commons, the pipeline, and the API, and I'm going to hit install without restart. And you go down at the bottom and it'll say pending, and then these will all go to success, go back to the top of the page, and we're ready to go. So now that you have your plugins installed, let's see, what do we want to do next? Let's go to the terminal and remote into the container. So we're going to go to this guy. I'm going to open up another window. Let's see, let's split this window, but we don't want this to be bash. We want to have another Ubuntu window. We'll just do two. All right, and we're going to say docker exec it with user root to Jenkins using bash. And here we are. So now I'm going to go to that var. Well, first, before I do that, I have to install a bunch of stuff. So again, go look at my repo for this because I'm going to do some updates. We're going to install some certificates and a bunch of other stuff. So in Docker CE, yes, you have to install Docker CE inside of Docker in order for this to work. So we'll go ahead and let that install. And then once we get to this, we need to go to the container, or once this is finished, we need to go to the var/var/run directory, and you're going to see that there's some socket stuff in there that we need to do. We're going to have permissions issues. So we just need to change that really quick, which should be super easy. And this should be almost done. And then as soon as that's done, we do the permissions. We're just going to go create our pipeline, and then it'll be ready to go. All right, so that's done. So I'm going to go to var run, and in here, you can see I have this Docker sock. So all I'm going to do is I'm just going to chmod 775 everything in here, and then you can see that it is 775. Might need write access as well for Docker sock, so I'm going to do this for that one. Oops, sorry. I need 7, 7, 7, 7, 7. There we go, so my user can do it. I don't recommend doing chmod 77 on things, but just to show you how this works, you can set up the Docker. You're going to need volumes and a bunch of other stuff on the back end, so this is just a test. So yeah, so from here, we can go back in here, and I can create a new item, and we're going to call this we'll just call this our test Docker image builder. And we're going to create a pipeline and hit OK. And then we want to look for pull SCM, and the schedule is going to be 5 or hour/5 star, so every 5 minutes. And then we want to use the SCM, and we're going to use git, and then it needs a repo URL. So I'm just going to go find my GitHub repo URL for Node. So there's my smiling face. There's Node. I'm going to copy this and I'm going to paste it in there. Leave the credentials blank. Leave all this blank. We don't use master anymore. We use main. And then that should be it. It's going to use the Jenkins file for this script. And you remember my Jenkins file is where all this stuff is defined. So my Jenkins file, that's where it says, hey, here's your Docker hub, and you need to use these credentials, which is important because the next thing we need to do is make credentials. So we're going to go to Dashboard, Manage Jenkins, Manage Credentials, Jenkins, Global, add a credential. Username is just going to be whatever your DockerHub username is, and then whatever your password is. And then for ID, it has to be the same as your file. Credentials. So it has to be the same as this guy. Exactly the same. Hit OK. Now I have some creds. I go back to my dashboard. We go to our image builder, and we can see, okay, it looks like it's ready to go. So our build trigger pulls our source control management, which is Git, every 5 minutes and runs a pipeline script from the source control manager for our repo on the main branch. And it's going to then use the Jenkins file to define what it's going to do in the pipeline. So what we should see is it's going to do a clone, it's going to build an image, test an image, and then push the image to DockerHub. So this isn't running yet. It's scheduled to run every 5 minutes, but you can go ahead and click build now, and then that will trigger a job in a second. There it goes. So here's our first one, and we can see if this works. So it's running. It cloned the repo. Now it's going to build an image. We'll see if this works. Come on, you can do it. So why would you do this? So in the case where you're developing on your machine and you make changes to a repo, ideally those changes would go through some sort of change control process, and at some point that code is merged into some sort of main or a trunk or a dev branch or whatever. And when it gets there, that's going to trigger a change in the MD5 value or the version value, like the commit and everything of the branch or whatever you're on. When it does that, uh, and you can see ours worked here, then let's look at our logs. Let's come in here and we can see, yep, it worked. Let's go up, let's go to our console output, and you can look at the console output and see exactly what it did. So it did npm install, it did all the things, it exported the image, it did all the stuff, logged into Docker, pushed all my stuff up, prepared it, and pushed it, and then success. And then I come in here, I should be able to go to DockerHub and see my new container. Well, my new container image. So if I go to hello node, we can see about a minute ago, I have a new latest version. I can click on it and we can see that this is what it does and where it came from. So that is a simple Jenkins pipeline for creating Docker images. You can take this and point it at a code commit repo in AWS and have that push your container images to Elastic Container Registry. And then you could use something like Spinnaker to watch ECR and then deploy your app in Kubernetes in EKS. So then you have an updated image version, and then Kubernetes control planes. We'll look at that, and the scheduler will go, okay, you're going to go over here, and then Kubernetes does all the things. And then you can do zero downtime deployments with CI/CD, 100% cloud native, super easy, and like I said, this pulls it every 5 minutes. So if I go back to the project here, and I'll go ahead and pause it, and you can see how long it takes. But this pipeline is very fast, and this is where you can put in your tests and stuff to see if it fails, and you can have it send a Slack message or whatever to say, "Hey, dummy, your container failed because you forgot something or whatever." So I'm gonna pause this video really quick and just wait for this to trigger after 5 minutes. Actually, it's worth noting, if you go into your job in your pipeline, inside of here and under configure, if you were going to look at the configuration options again, it says would last have run at 4:42 a.m. UTC and it's going to run again at 4:47 UTC, and you can see it's 10:45 where I am. So we got about 2 minutes. But if you go into your Manage Jenkins little gear icon, or Manage Jenkins, hang on a second. Let's go to the dashboard. Yeah, your configure. Inside your configuration, you can see when this is going to run again. So that's how I know when it's going to run. So I'll go ahead and, oh, you know what? We don't have a source control change, so it's not going to do anything. So we need to make a change. So let's go to our Docker file, and we'll just do something like maintainer. And I'm just going to put, I don't know, you can put whatever you want, I guess. Maintainer is deprecated, so I don't really want to use it. I could run echo hello world. It doesn't do anything, but I could do that. Save this, and then I'm going to exit out of this container, and I'm in my node thing, so I can say git add my Docker file, and then we'll say git commit -m added a line to Docker file to test Jenkins. Git's not configured on this one. Let me go back to bash. Boop. Is this staged? Yeah, it's staged. Git commit -m. I'm just going to put test. Don't kill me. Git push. Okay, so now that would have changed. So now in my repo, you can see I'm on E4A12FE 21 minutes ago. Well, if I refresh this, we're going to see that I'm now on a different version, right? I have a different commit ID, all that stuff. You can see I changed some stuff. So now that's been updated. Now that that's been updated, it's about time. So if we go into our dashboard, we should see this running very soon. Okay, I missed my window at 10:47, so it's 10:52. So now I'm just waiting for this to run. Oh, and there it goes. So you can see it automatically ran right on schedule, and it cloned my repo again, and it's rebuilding the image, which last time took 19 seconds, and this time it's gonna take, let's see, 18 seconds. The test should be super fast. And then it's going to push it, which takes a little bit of time. And we saw last time that we're on this latest, and it says it's pushed it a few seconds ago. If I refresh this, let's see what happens. There we go. And it's done. So now every 5 minutes, it's just going to pull my source control management system or version control system and check it. So there you go. If you have any questions, let me know. But if not, have fun building all the things in Jenkins.